Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us again for our first episode with Sue Chigorimbo. So, Sue, you were saying that you tried to take your own life, and that's when you started looking into depression. That's when you realized that there was something wrong. Can you talk us through that journey?
So as I was saying, the pain was crippling, and I thought, let me just take my life. That was back in June 2019. I thought, I'm better off dead than going through this pain on a daily basis, and with no one who really thinks I've got a case.
Mm.
People continue to just ignore my pain, and they expect me to be stronger than this. But this is way bigger than I am, and it's just that feeling of defeat. So I decided, let me just take my life. Then I would think of my kids. I would look at them and I would think, what will this do to them? I knew it wasn't going to be good on them,
Mm.
but the thing with depression is it's unfortunate that this is a taboo topic in society, and
Mm.
people don't really talk much about it. And people in society, you find if someone posts even on Twitter about mental health issues and struggles, they're told, especially if you attempt suicide, you're selfish and senseless, the
Mm.
senseless act. But when it's actually a condition.
Mm.
So then, well, looking back, I would always notice that, I got to a point that there's the defeat factor. Then
Mm.
there is also, you have to get to a point where you convince yourself that you're not good alive. You're
Mm.
not good alive, and that the people around you, even the people that love you, will be better off without you. So I thought, I'm not happy, I'm not healthy, and my kids deserve a happy and a healthy mom. I'm
Mm.
not all of that.
Mhm.
So they'll be much better off without me around.
Mm.
They're better off knowing their mom is dead than having a mom that's walking half dead.
Mm.
You're there, but you're not there.
Mm.
So I convinced myself that my kids are better off without me entirely in their lives. And I looked at my own journey, and I told myself, look, your mom, and by the time you were 14, you didn't have both parents, but look at you, look at what you made of your life. You
Mm.
actually made it this far. So they will be okay, and they'll understand because
Mm.
they love me so much. They're going to understand that mommy was, she just couldn't handle all of this that was going on with her.
Mm.
So, and that's the most painful part, because you don't know for how long they're not going to be okay. You
Mm.
know they're not going to be okay, but you don't know how long it's going to take for them to heal.
Yeah.
So, and that was my prayer, that I pray that they heal. Yeah, the healing doesn't take too long,
Mm.
that this doesn't take too much of a toll on them. So I just decided, you know what, they'll be okay.
Mm.
Because I was informed too when my mom passed, and I only got to process her
Mm.
death when I was way older, when I was already a mom.
Mm.
So I thought, you know what, death with kids is just something, it's trauma for a moment, and
Mm.
then maybe they'll be fine.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So,
It's amazing. Sorry to cut you off there. It's amazing. I just want to highlight this point that it's
yeah,
amazing that uh, you are in this moment, you are looking at your own journey and
yes,
and you are thinking, I lost my parents when I was young and I had to grow up quickly. And you are
yes,
actually using that um,
exactly.
to with your children as well to say that they'll also
Yeah,
be okay. So I think,
yeah,
would you say that it's the trauma of what you went
yeah.
through when you were young that made you
Mhm.
think in that way, that well, my parents died when I was young, so my children will be fine as well.
Yeah, looking back now, I guess you get to realize that's what trauma does to you. I
Mm.
was making this these comparisons and, just trying to weigh the situations and thinking, well, my son was in Form 4. I think my eldest was in Form 4. He was writing his O's.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't worry much about him because he's been quite independent from a young age. He wasn't very clingy and the mommy's boy type of person. He is withdrawn, but not in an antisocial manner.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, oh, no, you'll be fine. And he's a very responsible young man, and he pines over his siblings and he loves taking care of them. So I thought, no, they'll be fine. They'll be okay. He'll be a good support system. I actually pitted him against me, and I was looking at him and looking at myself at that age. And I thought, well, they'll be fine. Yeah. So I decided, well, this is the best route to take.
Mm-hmm.
And it only took um, that low point for me to realize afterwards that whatever I was dealing with was depression, because I afterwards I was in fighting mode, because when I attempted to take my life, there was a lot of I was called names, I was ridiculed, you know how it is in our society that this is taboo. You don't kill yourself because you're facing problems in marriage. That comes across as weak. You
Mm-hmm.
are weak. You are selfish. I was called all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in a defensive mode, and I wanted to fight back and to prove that I wasn't all of that you're calling me, that I actually thought of my kids, that I actually love my kids. Yes, I wanted to kill myself, but that doesn't mean I loved my kids any less.
Mm-hmm.
I loved my kids. I wanted them to afford them a life where they had a normal, happy and healthy mom, and I wasn't all of that. So I thought they were better off with a mom that's labeled as dead. She's not there. They don't have to see their mom cry. They don't have to see their mom in pain. That's all I wanted. But then I was labeled all these things. So afterwards, when I was reflecting and I was trying to come out of this situation and try to get rid of the dark thoughts, that's when I started to read about all this that I was going through, because the therapist had come to the hospital when I was there, and she had hinted something on depression. So I got interested and tried to read up on what I was going through, trying to just find out what could this be? Why am I feeling this way? Why did I get to this point where I tried to take my own life? So that's when I read up on depression and actually realized that, you know what, you are depressed, and you need to get help for it. But I didn't know how, and my therapist, the one that had been assigned to me by the hospital, wasn't going to see me on my own. She made it a condition that you have to come and have couples therapy. So, and you know how society is, not everyone is brought up to think that therapy helps.
Yeah.
So my ex wasn't keen, and he didn't want to go for therapy. So I couldn't go on my own. So I thought, well, okay, let me try and figure things out on my own. And the fighter spirit in me was back now, because I wanted to prove otherwise. I just wanted to prove that I wasn't a weak person, that I wasn't selfish, that I was actually a very loving mom.
Yeah.
I'm a selfless mom. I will sacrifice, I will do anything for my kids. I was willing to sacrifice my own life for my kids to have, in my eyes, in my view at that time when I was depressed. I saw this as a sacrifice. Better take my own life. I'm better off dead than them having to see me cry all the time, than them having to see me unhappy and just being just losing weight and emaciated because of the stress. So
Just
yeah, that's when I actually read.
Yeah, just to backtrack a little bit, because what I want the viewers to understand and to really get what this thing is, because
Yeah,
a lot of people go through this, and I'm
yeah,
sure you know this. There's a lot of people, and not everyone is willing to share and talk about it. So I think it's
yeah,
important that we really unpack exactly what happened, because I want people to
yeah,
understand how your mind was operating at that time, because here you are,
Yeah.
you are a mom of three, you are doing great things in your life, and you're a loving mom. I know you love your children and you love your family. And but I just want people to understand how the mind can shift from that to
Yeah.
trying to take your own life. So can you talk
Yeah.
us through that journey? What did you do? What was that process like? Can you walk us through what you actually did then when you ended up in hospital and having the therapist to come and see you? Because I want people to understand that, you know, you can go through this thing, but it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're a horrible person or a selfish person. But I just want people to have that understanding that this is what happens sometimes when you hit rock bottom.
Yeah. So what happened was there was an incident that
Mm,
that actually triggered me deciding
mm,
to take my life.
mm,
And for me, that was like the worst kind of betrayal because I failed to handle that incident. I didn't know how to deal with it. It was like, because with my marital problems, there was a time when I was in denial, when I didn't want to accept that, you know what, I'm going through this stuff, this is happening to me. So there were times when I would pretend like all of this was just it was not happening to me.
mm,
So then something happened, and it's it was kind of a bombshell that was dropped on me, and the realization, that this could be the end.
mm,
This could actually be the end of my marriage. And I was broken. I was totally, totally broken. I was in town, and I drove back home and I was crying. I was in a bad state. I tried to sit with the kids, watch TV with them. I remember I once posted on Twitter about this. I posted a picture of that day in the evening when I was sitting in the Panay I posted. So there's a picture that I posted on Twitter about this day when I was sitting with the kids, we were watching TV, and there was so much going on in my mind, and they had no idea. I was looking at them, taking selfies with my daughter because she was still very young and she loved taking selfies. So we're taking selfies, and I was thinking, are my kids? Is this fair on my kids for me to be so unhappy and to be just a shadow of myself? I'm just this shell. I felt like a shell, like I was totally empty inside, on the inside. And I was thinking, is this fair on my kids? Should I continue living like this? And when is this going to end? Is this actually going to end, or is this my life
mm,
until I die? Is this how I'm going to live until I die?
mm,
And I didn't want that because I didn't think I had a way out. It's different for someone who's got parents, because you can easily, just call your mom and say, Mom, I'm coming home. Everything is so heavy for me. It's different when your parents are late,
mm,
because you don't know how to reach out to everyone else that's around you. And for me, it was worse because I was the eldest and I was the parent to my siblings, and I felt I couldn't burden them with my issues, because to them they were like they were like my kids.
mm,
So I couldn't exactly talk to them. I couldn't tell them. I couldn't just pitch up at my brother's house, and tell him, I'm going through stuff. This is too much for me. I felt I couldn't do that. I felt like I'm his pillar of strength, not the other way around. So I'm sitting there in the lounge, and I just want to break down and cry. Then I go to my bedroom, I cry, I cry, and I realize, no, you know what, I can't keep this up, not with the kids around.
mm,
Let me drive out. It was in the evening. Let me just drive somewhere. Then I got into the car. Then I drove out. Then I went into town. I parked somewhere, and I cried and I cried and I prayed, and I told God, Lord, I can't take this anymore. This is too much for me. People call me strong, but I'm not this strong. Not this much. This is too much for me. I think you just you gave me this battle by mistake. This is not for me. Forgive me, because I think I'm better off dead. And I prayed, I asked that he takes care of my children the way he took care of us. That's how my mind was just unraveling. It was just a whole bag of emotions. Then at the back of my mind, I thought maybe I could reach out one last time to the people around me. So because I was such a mess, I thought, I don't think I should go home. Let me check myself into a hotel or something. So I went and checked myself into one of the local hotels, and then I went into the room and I started calling, relatives, trying to tell them what had happened, and just trying to reach out. But you can tell when people are really listening, when you're talking about your problems and someone is really listening and has taken an interest in the topic. You can tell. And then there's another type of listening where they're just like and they're not really engaged in whatever you're saying. And it felt like that. I think I made 3 calls that were like 45 minutes to an hour long, trying to explain my situation, trying to explain my pain. But then all of the people that I called were so disconnected. There was this disconnect that I couldn't understand. And I thought, okay, well, let me sleep it off. Let me try and sleep it off. And I'll try and sleep it off and see how I am in the morning. But I could not go to sleep. It was a long night of reflection, of trying to think what to do, what's better than killing myself. I was trying to convince myself not to kill myself. And I could not. There was no better idea that was popping up. There was no way out. Then I could not figure out a way out of this situation. It was just a mess in my eyes. And I knew, being a Christian, I knew I was sinning against God. But I thought, what's a time in hell compared to being alive and just being in this pain and just being a shell of yourself, and you keep seeing you like this. So I decided, well, a lifetime of hell, a lifetime in hell it is for me. Let me just go this route, and maybe, just maybe, God will forgive me. But I knew my fate. So morning came, and unfortunately there was no hot water. It was winter. It was bitterly cold that morning, and there was no hot water. So I went back home and I took a bath. Then I went back into town. I had just I've got allergies, so I had lots of antihistamines with me, but I felt they were not enough, because each time I take antihistamines, if I take one, it knocks me out, like totally knocks me out. I'm just a zombie. So I thought maybe if I take 50 will be okay. Yeah, they should knock me out dead, literally. So I went to the pharmacy. I went to one pharmacy. I think in the car I had 20. So in the car, I figured that 20 they're not enough. So I had taken just a bunch of all the tablets that I had at home, MMT, paracetamol, and stuff. So I was trying to decide which ones to take, and I figured the other ones might be a bit painful. It's funny, but you want to die, but you don't want to go through the pain.
Yeah.
I just wanted to find a die painlessly. So I went to the first pharmacy and I bought, I think, a pack of 10. Then I drove around going to different pharmacies until I'd bought like 5 packs.
Was this, if I can just ask, is this because they do not allow you to buy a certain number at a time?
No, oh no, I didn't want to raise suspicion.
All right.
That's why. I've stayed in Mutare for since 2009,
Yeah.
and I know these people personally. So I didn't want to raise alarm. One of the pharmacists was actually a relative, so I didn't want to raise alarm. I didn't want to raise suspicion. So
Right.
I went around buying the packs of these antihistamines, and I think at the end I had about 60. So then I drove out of town along Harare Road. Then I took a turn into the mountains, around an area, Magamba Training Center, like the opposite, like just up in the mountains. Then I drove up and parked somewhere there, in the middle of nowhere, and I just parked. Then I started reflecting again, trying to think of another way out. Is there a way out? I in that moment it was funny because I told myself, so don't make a rash decision. Just try and figure a way out, and try to think if there's anyone who can help you. And I couldn't find anyone that I could just pick and say, maybe I could reach out to this person or to that person. And then I said, okay, well, this is it. Let me write my suicide notes. So I wrote notes. The first one I wrote to my family, my side of the family, just giving them instructions on where I wanted to be buried, and what was to happen to my kids, what I wanted to happen with my kids. I wrote a note to my kids. It was just one note, but like paragraphs to each one of them, trying to explain to them why I was doing this, and just trying to make them understand my pain, and sort of, it's funny because trying to give them hope that there was hope after all.
Yeah.
I even gave them the example of my own life, that my mom passed away when I was young, but I'd made it, and I'd managed to make a name for myself somehow. And I just tried to explain that Mama is going through a lot of pain, and she can't handle the pain, and she doesn't want you to be around. To me, it was a toxic environment for them. So when I was done, then I prayed again, and I kind of spoke to God about what I was about to do, and just telling him that I couldn't handle it. Trying to reason with him. But you have to understand that I'm here now, and this is what is going through my mind, and this is what I'm going through. I'm in pain. The pain that I was feeling was, I could feel it physically. Everything hurt. I couldn't just pinpoint that I'm hurting here, but I feel pain, physical pain. My body was hurting, and I didn't want that, and I didn't think I could manage to go through maybe the next 2 days like that. So, and I thought at the back of my head, I kept thinking, you know what, eventually I'm going to die from this. I said, I'm just going to just get maybe a stroke and die from it, because I was super stressed and I was super unhappy. So I prayed. Then I took pictures of the notes, and I sent them to my sister, my little sister. Then I switched off my phone. Then I started taking the tablets. I was taking them in batches of 10, from one pack to the next, one pack to the next, until I'd taken, I think, close to 60.
Wow.
Of those. Then I sat there and just started, trying to be grateful for the happy memories, and trying to reflect and just be thankful of whatever had gone well in my life. And then I started feeling funny, I think the tablets were now starting to work. Then I thought, but I'm out here. I don't want to prolong this for anyone, so that, now they're going to be looking for me, and they won't find me here unless someone just happens to walk past. And that this is like right up in a mountain, and it was like a dead end. That road didn't lead to anywhere. So the chances of someone finding me there were very slim. So I thought, let me just drive maybe back into town, so that I don't want this to be so much drama around this, that Sue is missing for 3-4 days. I didn't want to prolong the pain for the people that love me, the people that my kids and family. So I just wanted to be this. I wanted to be a distant memory, like pretty quickly. I wanted just people to mourn and bury me and be done with me, and people move on with their lives. I was so desperate to just be a distant memory, especially in that form that I was, the unhappy form. I just wanted that to be a distant memory for people to just forget and move on. So I started driving back into town, like, slowly, because I was starting to feel sick. So I drove back into town. Then I didn't go into. I went to one of the suburbs that were. It was close to where I stayed. I think it was like 3-4 k's away from home. Then I went and just found this quiet street. Then I just parked, because I was running out of breath and strength, and so I just parked there, and just went to sleep. Yeah.
It's amazing though how you thought out everything, and even in that moment when you were going through all of this, you were planning all of this, you were actually also thinking about how other people um, would feel. So it's like you were very considerate as well at the same time, but you are about to do
Yeah.
something that would hurt everyone, but at the same time, you're also trying to protect them.
Exactly. Yeah. It was a conflict. It was very conflicting, because I didn't want there to be so much drama around it. I just wanted people just to know, side, okay, all right. There's a funeral, people come to the funeral, that's it. And
Yeah.
not all the drama with the missing person and posters all around, and maybe a week of people looking for me, and maybe another week of the funeral, and it was I didn't want that kind of drama around it. I just wanted it to be quiet, and yeah.
Okay, so talk us through when you were found, what happened after that?
So because I'd sent my sister the notes that I'd written, immediately they started looking for me. So now I'll say, fortunately, that worked. That was a plus, because it's made them find me in time, because with the lead time of me leaving the place where I had parked out of town, driving back into town the search for me was already in motion. People were, my sister had alerted my aunts, she'd alerted my in-laws that this was going on, and everyone was looking for me. So people were just driving around town, trying to find my car, trying to locate my car, asking everyone, have you seen her car? Have you seen her car? Have you seen Sue? Have you seen so? And so they got to me just in time, just in the nick of time. And when they found me, I was already unconscious. And they rushed me to hospital. And I got to hospital. I was unconscious. Doctors attended to me. Then I woke up, I think, some hours later. And when I woke up, the realization that I wasn't dead, that people had found me and saved me, I was livid. I was so angry and I was so emotional. I broke down and I cried because I didn't want this. I didn't want them to find me in a state where I could be saved. My hope had been they should find me either dead or too late to save. Between those two, yeah. So for them to find me in that state was a bitter pill to swallow, because now I was thinking, okay, now I'm alive. Now I have to face the world again. Now I have to face my problems. In fact, I wasn't worried about people. I was worried about facing my problems again. I have to go through that pain again. And instantly, the moment that I realized I was not dead, that pain set in again. It was back, like a demon. It was just set in, and I hated my life then. I hated everything. And I just tried to just sleep and just ignore, and people would come and see me, my relatives would come and see me, and I couldn't look at them. I couldn't look at them because I could see the pain. And especially when people have made that realization that there was so much going on with you, that it was this bad. Because no one knew it was this bad. People knew Sue is having problems, but it can't be this bad. So
I didn't think it was
for them to finally make that realization when you're on a hospital bed, that was very traumatizing for my family, more so for my kids. So trying to navigate, my way, and my family trying to navigate through those emotions of trying to being supportive, but at the same time being in pain themselves because of what I've done. It was a kind of a roller coaster. And what made it worse for me was, and it's sad, and this is one thing that needs to be addressed, and there's a lot of ignorance when it comes to mental health issues, not with just the public and not just with uneducated people. Even educated people don't understand these issues, and they frown upon someone who's tried to commit suicide or someone who has committed suicide. So you find that what made it worse for me, I couldn't wait to get out of that hospital. This was the top hospital in Mutare, private hospital, very expensive. But the nurses were busy gossiping, about me, telling each other, taking turns to come to my bed, go and see that lady that tried to kill herself because she's having problems with her husband. And they would be coming, taking turns and ridiculing me and telling me all sorts, how can you kill yourself? Killing yourself over a man, are you crazy? Someone like you, why would you do that? You think all of us, we are in marriage, and marriage is difficult to do. You think we're not going through problems. It was one after the other, one nurse after the other, one nurse after the other.
Yeah, and it's something that, sorry to cut you off, it's something that I want to highlight, that, this is a place where it's supposed to be a safe place. It's supposed to be a place of safety, a place to help people heal. But it's to you, it now becomes a place of even more pain because of what people are saying to you, what all these nurses and professionals are saying to you, instead of comforting you and trying to figure out where the problem is and giving you options of, what you need to do to get help. They're adding to the pain.
Yeah, yeah, it was sad, and it was a very painful time for me because I couldn't wait to get out of there. Yeah, I was nervous. I was really apprehensive about going back home, but um, at that time when all of this was going on, I was desperate to go home. I was desperate to go and face my demons back at home because of everything that was happening with the staff members at the hospital. You know, even going to bath, I would be, you know, just the walk to go to the bathroom or to go to take a bath, and you know, meeting all these people, and people are whispering in corners and you know, pointing at you, staring. It
Mm,
was I it brought out in me the fighter spirit, and I was in fighter mode. I was ready to fight for my dignity and you know, just take it back,
mm,
and you know, just take back that name and that characteristic that you know, that was attached to me. You know, people knew me as just a fighter, just a bull. You know, I get through everything, and I was so eager to just go back home and build my name up again. And the one thing that was really unfortunate about that, about my stay at the hospital, was that part, the gossiping part was bad, but the worst part was one of the nurses. I think one of the nurses knew me personally, and you know, word got to the kids' school
mm,
um, pretty fast. Eventually, it was going to get there, but it got there pretty fast. And you know, my kids were encountering all these questions and all sorts
mm,
from their friends, from their teachers, from you know, just everyone. You know, trying to figure out, and but trying to figure out from the kids.
mm,
So it was pretty traumatic for them.
yeah,
But those were consequences that I was going to have to deal with anyway.
yeah,
It was going to happen in a matter of time. But my issue is, you know, with more education around mental health issues, people will know how to approach such situations, and to how to even try and reduce the trauma for those around the people that are struggling with mental health issues.
mhm,
So that was very hectic for me and for us as a family, having to deal with that, and having to. Mutare is a small town.
yeah,
I always tell people, Mutare one room, you know, everyone is in everyone's business. So the word got around pretty quickly. Everyone knew Sue has tried to take a life. Who is Sue? Oh, that lady with short hair. But you know, she's the blonde tint, and you know, she drives this car, and you know her. You know, everyone knew what was going on. So that's one of the lessons, because you take out lessons from all of this, and
yeah, yeah,
when we, it's I'm fortunate enough
mm,
to have come out of this and to have realized that I'm depressed, and you know, try to find ways around my
mm,
situation and my condition, because then I got to learn about the consequences and the trauma that my family suffered, and you know, what it did to my kids and everyone else around me that loved me.
mhm,
So I'm one of the fortunate ones, but it's not always like that. And there's a lot of education that has to go around in our society, especially maybe starting from primary school, you know, awareness programs, teaching kids that if you find yourself feeling like this, like this, like this, maybe you need to talk to someone, maybe you need to start finding help, and maybe we'll be in a better situation and a better world where um, uh, issues are dealt with in a more professional and more considerate manner. Yeah.
mhm. No, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I want to find out now how you moved from that to becoming a crafter, to becoming this amazing businesswoman, this entrepreneur. Because I was following your journey when you started crafting, you started knitting, and now I've
Yeah.
seen you in newspapers. I have seen you. You're all over Twitter. You're everything. You're just shining. So how did you come from that to becoming this amazing entrepreneur and businesswoman?
You know, Sisi, I'm very grateful to God for that part of my life.
Yeah.
Because, from high school, I was just, the resident hairdresser. I was good with my hands but I didn't know I was this good with my hands. So it had to take that for me to be where I am today. I had to go through all of that for me to be where I am today, because the moment I came out of the hospital and I was at home, I got into, like I said before, I got into the fighter mode. I was trying to fight off the dark thoughts because they would come back. They would be creeping back on me almost all the time. Each time I was idle, sitting, people tried to be around me all the time, but I got to a point where I told people, no, you guys, you're suffocating me. Please stop suffocating me. Yeah. You have to give me my space. So each time I was in my own space, the dark thoughts will come back because the problems hadn't gone away. My marriage was still failing, but I was in this mode of trying to fight back, trying to get back my name, trying to make my name a name for myself again. So I thought, why not go back to knitting? Because I'd started knitting in 2018. And when I started in 2018, it was because I was bored. I was bored. I was a mom, I was a business person, but because the company that we'd built had started it was big now, and it was starting to be able, it was running itself, it was well oiled, So there wasn't much to do because we'd set the groundwork already. So I had this routine that became boring, and then I happened to just stumble upon knitting needles in a shop, and I bought them with some yarn and I started knitting. Then I stopped in 2019 when I was going through stuff. So I thought, let me take out my knitting needles and try and make something. So I started knitting again. This time I tried making baby stuff, like little booties and stuff. So I noticed something. Each time I'm making something, I'm concentrating on my knitting and whatever I'm creating. And I'm not thinking about my problems at all. I would not for a moment even think, knitting and crochet, they're very mathematical. There's a lot of counting that goes on. There's lots of sequences that you have to follow. And if you miss a sequence, you could just unravel the whole thing and start all over again. So I didn't want that. So I'd be concentrating on what I'm making. And, there's just a bit of creation, seeing something growing from a single stitch to something that someone can wear. That was something for me. And I was so engrossed in this, I would be hoarding yarn. I would be buying all sorts of knitting needles, like bags of knitting needles, different types. And I just started knitting. And, when up until the end of 2019, I was always on YouTube looking for tutorials, making stuff. And now in 2018, when I'd started, I'd set up a page on Facebook for my needs, and it had quite a following. Yeah. And then it was now lying there. I had stopped posting, and then I decided, why not post again? So I went back to my old page and I started posting again. And this lady noticed my stuff in 2020. Her name is Sikunkoma. So she was starting this revolution of trying to establish a market, like an African market for African-made products by African people, much like Alibaba. That's the concept that she was working on. So she sees my posts, and then she comes to my DM and she says, "Sue, I love your work. Why don't you try and start a knitting revolution?" And I was so excited because someone has taken notice of my work. So that's when she started these WhatsApp groups, and it was 2 WhatsApp groups that were full to the brim. People were fighting to get on those groups. And she said, I want you to lead these groups, just inspire people, teach them. And here I wasn't even a pro, I would only do one stitch. I was only doing one stitch, the easiest one, which is garter stitch, because it's easy, it's not complicated, and I just love its look. So I started leading these WhatsApp groups, and people were coming out. And that's the other thing that helped me, because each time I would post something on Facebook and people come out to compliment my work, and people come out and tell me that I'm inspiring them. You
Yeah.
know, that gave me a hope. I started having hope.
Yeah.
I started thinking, okay, there's something to live for after all.
Mm.
Maybe I might become a name after all, and maybe I can be happy again, you know. And I started, and I continued meeting, and there were these two groups. Then people started giving me orders, and I started making stuff for people, and I was making money out of it. But I still didn't take myself really seriously then.
Mm.
Then lockdown came, and I couldn't be shipping orders and sending orders and couriering orders to my clients. So, but the groups continued. You know, everyone wanted to keep busy during lockdown. So knitting was one of those things that got people off the stress and,
Mm.
you know, just overthinking mode about COVID. So we continued to knit away, and people started asking if I could give them lessons.
Mm.
Then I started doing virtual lessons via WhatsApp video calling, via Zoom, via Skype, and then it's growing, you know.
Mm.
Then I thought one day I thought, okay, maybe I can write down my patterns and
Mm.
sell them online.
Mm.
Then I wrote, I think, about three. Then I put them up online. Then I started getting money
Mhm.
from those patterns. Then I was like, oh, okay, so I can actually make a living out of this.
Yeah.
Then 20 going into 2020, that was 2020. Then I started experimenting with rope,
Mm.
and I had lots of empty whiskey and wine bottles lying around, and I didn't know what to do with them. It was lockdown. I couldn't just go out with a bag full of bottles. What would I do with them? Where would I put them? So I bought some spray paint. Then I started playing around. Then I commented on someone's tweet because I was on Twitter, but I wasn't active on Twitter. It intimidated me so much. So I went and commented on someone else's tweet. They had done a DIY project, and I said, "Oh, okay, I'm into upcycling," as if I was doing it for a long time. It was the first time, and I went and I'm into upcycling. I upcycle bottles, and everyone was coming to my post. Then I went and tweeted,
Mhm.
put pictures, and people kept coming, you know. That's what I love about the Twitter community. It can be very supportive. It is actually very supportive. So they came out, and these are strangers. It's unlike Facebook. On Facebook, it's your friends and family that will come and say, "Oh, nice, lovely work, you're talented." But on Twitter, it's strangers, you know, and some names that I actually knew, you know, influential people. They would come to my post, you know, "Sue, this is lovely. How can I order? Can I give you bottles? I've got bottles lying around." And I think a day later, I'm called by my cousin brother. No, he actually sent me a link on WhatsApp, and he says, "Sis, I'm proud of you." I was driving in from town. "Sis, I'm proud of you. You're taking the world by storm." And I'm like, "Which world? What is he talking about?" I park and I see, oh, it's a Nigerian blog that's written about me, about my work.
Wow.
I
Wow.
was so excited. You know, I couldn't sleep, and I just started going on and on and on and on. And I started experimenting with rope. Then one day I thought, why not make a bag? Then I made a bag. And when I made that bag, I looked at it and I told the people at home, and I told them, "Guys, you know what? This is going to change my life."
Mm.
And that was a game changer. You know, people started noticing, and the orders just flooded in. And all those dark thoughts, all the problems that I was having, I forgot about them. I had something to focus on. I just shifted my focus,
Yeah.
and I shifted it from my problems to all of this creation, all of this creativity. And I realized then that I have to take myself seriously as a crafter.
Mm.
People are taking notice. I don't want to disappoint, and I don't want this to be a stint, like a 1 month stint. I want this to be actually an enterprise where I can make money from it.
Mhm.
And then I went on and on and on. But I had a problem of I was caging. I sort of caged myself in. I fenced myself in, and I told myself I'm a knitter. Okay,
Mhm.
I don't do crochet. Um, Crochet is not my thing. I don't want to try it. I don't think it's as neat as with knitting. So I sort of caged myself in, and I would just be shifting from rope to knitting, rope and knitting. But knitting takes so long. You should know because you're a crafter as well.
Yeah.
So knitting takes so long. It was frustrating. I couldn't do adult projects like if someone asked me to make a cardigan for them, I couldn't. You know, just tell them no. I do just beanies, I do scarves, I do house shoes. That's it for adults. Everything else is for kids. So I thought, why not try to learn crochet? Then I just bought my draw cord and I started using a YouTube tutorial. I made a bag and I posted it on Twitter and people went crazy. So now the crafting is just diverse. I really need, because knitting is slow, crochet is way faster. So now it's a lot of crochet. It's mostly crochet and a bit of rope crafts. So that's it had to take that place for me to get where I am. And even after I separated from my ex-husband, I had something to fall back on because that was always my fear. And it's common amongst women when you don't when you do everything with your husband and you do everything as a couple. There's nothing wrong with that. That's marriage. You have to do stuff together. But when you have to separate, you come to terms with the reality that you're going to have to take care of the kids, possibly on your own, and you have to have the means to do that. So that was a headache of mine because I would try to get out of that marriage a lot of times, but I just couldn't see myself being financially independent. And I knew divorce can be very lengthy, and there'll be lots of fights about whatever you amass together. So I needed something on the side, something that I could make money off of and not have to rely on what we are fighting for or what we're trying to split between the two of us. So when I realized that this enterprise, this crafting, could actually sustain me and the kids, it's got more exciting for me. And that's when I really started to push myself more, especially when I started attending, being invited to fairs. That's how it started off. I started being invited to fairs. I was invited to the Vumba Fair first, then to the monthly Star FM Market Garden. Then when I really realized that this enterprise is actually can be quite big for me, is when I was invited to do training, to train my crafts, train some ladies from Sapuva in Motare, what Mercy Corps, the organization that called me to do, they called me to train these ladies how to make some of my stuff. What they used to do is they would give them a monthly stipend. They would select young mothers, 25 and below, and they would give them a monthly stipend, to try and assist them with the monthly expenses. But then they realized that, you just can't keep giving someone money. You have to teach them something. You have to teach them how to make money on their own. So they called me to do this training, and I did the training and it paid very well. That's when I realized that, I can actually sustain the kids and myself through my crafting. There's so many ways that I can do it. I don't just have to make stuff and sell it. I can also train. And then there's the patterns as well. So that's what I've been doing, and it's been going well. I've been getting recognition, like you said. I've been profiled in a couple of papers, mainstream papers even. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be where I am today.
That is amazing. That is such an amazing story, Sue. Every time you say these things to me, I'm so overwhelmed, and I'm so happy for you that you are in this place now where you came out of all that chaotic whirlwind, or I don't even know how to describe it, but you came out of it and you are this amazing crafted, this amazing businesswoman now. And I'm so glad that you are here now to tell your story, because I know for sure that your story is going to help somebody out there. Welcome back, everyone. So we are here with Sue Chigorimbo, who is a mom of three, an entrepreneur, a crafter, a businesswoman. So Sue, one final question for you. Well, it's actually not a question, but I just wanted you to share just one little advice or some pointers that you may have for people out there, based on, you know, the life journey that you have experienced. What is it that you have to say to our audience today?
Okay. You know, life is life. Life has its methods, and the one thing that I've learned that I would like to, maybe I hope this will help someone that's going through life's methods that they don't understand. Life deals us blows that we don't understand, but that is life. I don't think it would be as interesting if it was just dull and we didn't have ups and downs.
Mm.
So life will deal you blows, but the important thing is to stay afloat, to keep your head up, because everyone is going through something. Everyone is going through something. And the one thing that gave me hope was learning that I was actually good at something. So I always try and tell people to find, when you're going through stuff, find something. There is something that was deposited in you somewhere, that you're good at. Because you find in life, people tend to focus on what we've learned through the education system. Maybe you were trained, you trained to be an engineer, maybe you trained to be a lawyer, but there's always that one thing that God has put in you that you're really good at. And that is what helped me to get out of my situation. I didn't have to go back and work in a bank for me to come out of depression. I didn't have to go back and work as an electronic engineer. It's knitting and crafting that got me out of it, something that I'm good at. And I always ask myself, Lord, are these the same hands that I grew up with?
Yeah.
Because growing up, I was known to be good at doing people's hair, braiding and stuff. But I didn't know there was a lot more that I could do. And that's the one thing that I've learned also, to free myself from caging my gift and trying to think that I'm this. You can be so much more. I used to think I was just a knitter, but now I do crochet as well. And now I know the sky is the limit. I can, even if you, I'm sure if you give me a drill, I can find my way through to use it. Yeah, because there's something, I now understand there's something that was deposited in me, and I understand that I have a purpose, because I came to a point where I thought I served no purpose. And the moment you get to that point where you think you serve no purpose, you don't see yourself being a fit in the world, and you think you are a fit maybe in death. So always try and find a purpose, find something that you're good at, and shift your focus. The moment that I shifted my focus from my problems to what I was actually good at, everything changed. My life changed completely. I'm not wealthy, but I'm content. I'm able to put food on the table for my kids. I'm able to put my kids through school through crafting. The other thing, the other takeouts, the other lesson that I learned is, I always say this to people, because the moment you listen to what people are telling you, I tell you you're lost, because people say it a lot. When I started crafting, I tell you people say it a lot, and people were embarrassed. Some people were embarrassed to be around me with my knitting needles, and they thought, this is chembere, this is not for you. You're a banker. Why don't you go back to work? I would get that a lot. Why don't you find a job and do this as a side hustle? But I kept focused on my talent and on my gift, and I knew what I wanted out of it. And I knew this could take me somewhere. And I blocked out, I regarded all those negative comments and that advice as noise, because it was going to take me away from something that I actually loved doing.
Yeah.
So don't ever shy away from doing something that you love because you're worried about what people will say.
Mhm.
As long as you don't give me breath, then I won't listen. I'll do what I feel like
Yeah.
this is good for me. This is what I love doing. So that's the other takeout. And the other thing is come out from your comfort zone. The moment you shift from your comfort zone, because comfort is the enemy of progress. The moment you think, let me sleep for 1 more hour, or I can't do this. This is not good for my hands. I used to get my nails done a lot. Now I rarely get my nails done because I can't have nails and be doing what I do.
Mm.
So if I would focus on looking good,
Yeah.
and that would come in the way of my work, where would I be? So one, I don't conform to what the world tells me. I influence the energy in the room. I don't let it influence me. So I do what I know puts food on the table. So the moment that you just come from your comfort zone and just do things that you know will get you where your dream is, then you'll be unstoppable. Yeah.
That's wonderful, Sue. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm so amazed at how you came out of this and becoming this amazing crafter, entrepreneur, businesswoman. And above all of this, you're a mom of three. So I'm really, really amazed. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I know someone out there is going to benefit a lot from your story. So thank you so much. And I just want to wish you an amazing, amazing day and, many amazing days ahead of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Titi. It's a pleasure and an honor. And thank you for having this platform for the unknowns that are doing
Yeah.
things out there.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for this, because the unknowns tend to be sidelined, yeah, because they're the big names out there. But then everyone has a story to tell. So thank you so much for this platform, and I wish you well. And I pray that a lot of people will be inspired through your storytelling.
Oh,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much, Sue. Have a lovely day.
You too, Titi. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Well, that's all we've got for today. If you enjoyed today's episode, just hit the subscribe button and the notification bell for future content and future episodes. And you can also catch us on Facebook or Instagram at You Can Rise Again. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, you can rise again. Until the next time, bye.